Questions regarding the consultation? Councillor Gurley.
Thank you, Chair. Consultation. The consultation itself, to say it's been quite under the radar is quite an understatement for parents and for many of the head teachers in the local primary schools across the district, because I know, I've spoken to them. The concern is that the consultation surveys on Essex County Council's website is buried under about 5 or 6 web pages, so you have to hunt to find it. From my understanding, it's only if you walk into the children's centre itself you get offered potentially a paper copy or a leaflet of the consultation. There certainly wasn't any awareness of the consultation in any of the primary schools or libraries in the district, because I went round and checked them all. And yet, all the libraries offer services for dads on a Saturday morning and other activities as well. It just seems like, again, paper copies were only produced for about 3% of your total reach for children's centres. You've also got those kind of families where, like myself, I have a 4-year-old. We've used children's centres before. They are a great service. But we might have a second child, and although we don't currently use some of the children's centre services, we might want to later on. So really, primary school parents should have been consulted as well, or at least made aware of it. The actual consultation surveys, taking on board what Stacy said, it's a tick box exercise. There is no part of that survey, I've done it, and so has my wife, but actually no point on that survey does it allow the parent to put any of their own views and concerns down. So again, the consultation parents are feeling that actually it's a done deal. Essex and Spurgeons have already made the decision, and therefore actually completing the consultation, what's the point? Because you're not really asking for their views, you're just asking them to tick a whole load of table boxes. It'd be good to get your views.
The consultation is outlining the premises that will be used. A further consultation will need to be undertaken by Spurgeons once these proposals are considered and decisions taken on those. That will in then turn make a decision on what deliveries will be offered. And as far as how wide the consultation documents went, MPs, local councillors, children's centres have all been sent documents and letters about the consultation, which we would hope that they would cascade. And obviously, yes, it is online. Posters were also issued to the children's centre for their distribution to relevant sites where they know families are accessing. I take your point about primary schools, and I can go back and check that. We have got another week, and I can make sure we get posters out to those schools, primary schools in the area.
And can I just go on to add, on our quadrant board and district boards, actually you've got representation for primary schools sitting on those boards, and I know from a communication perspective all of the consultation went out and was asked to be distributed to schools, so obviously I can only apologise if that hasn't happened, but there definitely was a circulation and I was involved in the communications. Obviously we've back in our last customer satisfaction week, we actually asked parents and centre users how they best receive information and how they'd like us to correspond with them in the future, because it's something that we get picked up with in Ofsted inspections, and actually people's preferred ways of communication was through social media. So with that in mind, all of our children's centres have actually got a Facebook page, which you don't actually have to be a member of Facebook to be able to access it, and we've ensured that on all 17 Facebook pages that the consultation is on there, and really pushing and promoting for people, actually sending out far and wide, asking for members of the public and parents to actually complete that. So I really hope that you'll obviously tonight go forward and continue to push, because there is still a week. Obviously from when Essex County Council first put the proposal forward to us about the property strategy, and then we actually looked at that data when we was looking at making decisions around main sites, delivery sites, and obviously the merging of Little Buddies into Sunrise. So I have got all that information, but obviously, as you can appreciate, it's a lot of data, and just presenting it wouldn't necessarily mean anything. It's a story behind it. Also, once a quarter I have to report into Essex on our key performance indicators, and actually as it currently stands, our contract is to offer a 60% targeted service and a 40% universal service. And for the last year and a half, I've been working very closely with Essex to make sure that we continue to improve our service delivery. And I'm pleased to report that obviously the reach numbers are increasing for Epping Forest across the whole board, and the services are being accessed basically. So obviously we are tracking where people are going, because it's absolutely fundamental when we're taking these decisions, and that's why obviously Spurgeons as an organisation is supporting this project, this property proposal, because I'd much rather have our staff and actually be able to deliver services, whether that be in outreach or from my site or a delivery site, than actually having to find other ways to make the savings. So with making sure we're meeting the needs of the local families here. So I hope that answers your question.
Councillor Gurley, you wanted to ask another question?
Yeah, I think you made some very good points regarding the data, but is there a reason why a member of the public can't understand the rationale online why you're taking the decisions you're making with every centre? Because you're able to give us some of the data behind, say, Little Buddies or Little Oaks, but for most parents that come into me are saying, but I don't understand why they're making that decision with that children's centre when there's no data on the website to back up your proposals. Does that make sense?
I think, bearing in mind that we have 4 quadrants and 86 children's centres, if we were to upload all the data that we were using, it would be very difficult, and people wouldn't necessarily always understand what the data was telling us. So what we try to do is summarise. If members of the public, or we had an inquiry around the kind of data that has been considered and what we've looked at, we will be able to supply that.
Sorry, coming back on that, the reason I'm coming back on that is because you've with the data, you've backed up what members already know, that actually Little Buddies is doing well because it's got cross-boundary usage, it's got residents coming from Chigwell to use it, and because they're all using it, sometimes the local residents in Bucker still can't use it because all the spaces for activities are being filled by all those others. And also, Little Oaks, it's actually on my patch, and we've used Little Oaks as a family. Little Oaks moving to the new site, it's good to hear it's been doing well, but I know that there was an awful lot of mess behind that move that meant the centre was closed for a number of weeks. There was lots of health and safety issues over the building being ready to work. There's also issues over the shared usage of the site, over, I won't go into detail, but certain vulnerable adults, shall we say, behaving inappropriately when there's children and families that use that site. It's off the beaten track, so it's not very easy to find that centre, and I speak as a family that was trying to look for it, and I live in the ward. So I'm just a bit concerned about the proposals. I understand, like Councillor Murray says, we know you need to save money, okay, we accept that. What I'm concerned about is that the proposal isn't transparent to the public about the reasoning behind that, because I've also checked with centre staff and I've also checked with parents, and a lot of proposals to me just do not make any sense.
Any comment?
I note your concern.
Thank you.